What's on, minifans? In this video, I wanted to make some detail pieces, Greebles, that you can use in other projects. My plan is to make a mold and cast these, but in this video I cover making the Greebles. If you like anything in the video, feel free to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to stay up to date. I have some Amazon links in the description for my most used items and a Patreon up and running. Anyway, enough of that, on to building. I start off with 3mm chipboard. You could of course use 2mm, but I've got this available so I used this. And I measure out 1.5 centimeters and cut out a strip and then cut that into 3 centimeter long sections, 4 of these. And then what I do is glue 2 together with super glue. Once these are done, I bevel the sort of top edge with a sanding stick. Next up, I've cut 2 1 by 2.5 centimeter cardstock rectangles, and I glue rivets into the corners of these. So these are just my fingernail jewelry beads, dab of super glue, cocktail stick, get it into place. And then I glue these onto the chipboard bits we made earlier with PVA. Alright, to go between those 2 end pieces we've just made, I've got 4 lengths of straw, and these are cut to about 6 centimeters. And what I do is line them up and glue them onto a piece of card, just with PVA. And then when that's dried, just to make sure it's completely straight, I sort of line it up on my cutting mat and then trim the ends of the straws with a sharp knife. To make sure the straws bond to those end pieces properly, I fill the straws up with cardboard and then dab a load of PVA glue on both ends, put the end pieces on, sort of wedge them in place with some big paint bottles and then one on top just to make sure it glues straight. Final bit of detail on the straws. I've cut some more little sections of straw, like 1/2 centimeter, some a little bit smaller, and I snip lengthways so you can open up and put it over the other straws, and then I just glue this on with super glue. On to the next Greeble. For this one I'm using various items. So I've got an old bottle cap, nice one, a rubber piece off another, I think it was a medicine bottle, and then I've made another end piece like on the last Greeble, the chipboard piece, but it's slightly smaller, and I've got a bit of straw, an offcut of an old HDMI cable with another small straw section on one end, and this all gets glued down onto a bit of chipboard. You can just follow along with the video, and wow, my super glue pours out so quickly. I then add a couple of support pieces to that bottle cap, and they're just a bit of chipboard cut at an angle and then duplicated, and these just get glued onto the sides with super glue. I then cut around the sort of detail pieces on this Greeble, just at funny angles, just to make it look kind of cool. I cut another panel at a chipboard with some nice angles on it and glue this onto the empty space next to the straw, and then rivet this as well. As a final bit of detail on this one, I've got some cables, very thin cables, and I just put those in various locations, bending them into place, going up to that sort of rubber bottle stop at the top, and to that panel we just added. And I keep this all kind of flush against the main body because I am planning on casting this later. Alright, the next Greeble. This is a simple one. It's kind of a pump part out of like a soap dispenser, something like that. And I've sawed this in half and sanded it down. And then I glue the two halves together. Then using a 2 cm wide bit of cardstock, and I've done glued rivets onto this. This gets wrapped around, covering that join and super glued on. Then for a little more detail, I drill some holes using my pin vise, and I mark the spot with the tip of my craft knife first so the drill bit doesn't slip. So I drill some holes and then thread some of that cable through and glue it all with super glue. Now there are gaps at the ends of this pipe thing, so to fill up those spaces what I use is the connector parts of some cables. I've just lopped 2 of these off and they just get glued on with super glue. This is the last Greeble. I start off with this cap off some kind of bottle, and it's smooth sides, straight sides, so it's quite a nice one, and it's 5 cm in diameter. So what I do is cut 2 out of chipboard, 2 out of cardstock, 6x6 squares. On one of the cardstock pieces, I draw a spot in the center by measuring down the side, to the center of each of the sides, and then marking that spot in the center. And then with a compass I draw a circle. It's about 6 mil off the edge of the square. For this circle I want it to look like a vent of some kind, so I measure down opposite sides of the square 4 mil intervals, and then I cut out alternate panels. You can see what I do. So this cardstock panel we've just made is going to get glued to one of those chipboard panels, but I want a space behind it, so I cut out the inside of one of those chipboard squares, so just leaving a 0.5 centimeter sort of border. Once this is all cut out, I get some of that sculptor's mesh, glue a section of that to a piece of cardstock, just using PVA, then glue that onto the vent hatch thing we've made with cardstock, and I put greaseproof paper on top and weigh it down so it glues nice and flat. Once that's dried, I glue that whole thing to that chipboard border we've made and then onto the other piece of cardstock. I've put some dots on the other chipboard square in the corners, and this is going to be for some kind of support later on. But then what I do is, just using PVA initially, I glue the bottle cap into the center of that bottom piece, and then put the top sort of vent cover on as well, glue it all with PVA, get it all lined up, and then I actually use some super glue to keep it in place. Right, I've got 4 little sections of barbecue skewer, and these just get glued into the corners where I put those dots on the bottom chipboard square. But honestly, I do plan on making a mold out of these. So these little barbecue skewer pieces, I'll actually knock out before I make the mold. To add a little more detail to the front of this vent, I just glue some cable ties down either side. Final piece on this one, I've cut 2 5mm wide strips of cardstock which go between the cable ties either side, and I've glued rivets down the centres, and these just get glued on with PVA, and job's done. Onto painting. I'm not going to do an amazingly complex paint job on these because I am going to make a mould out of them afterwards. But anyway, I prime them black, base coat burnt umber, come in with a dry brush of silver all over, and then I do various colours. For some of the pipes I do them red and then some blue. The blue ones I give a dry brush of lighter blue and then white on the sort of top surface. And then for the vent cover, I do sort of a scratchy light blue, so it looks like metal showing through where the paint's chipped off. After all this is dried, I give everything a good old soaking with black wash, and that's the homemade black wash, so black paint, water and a drop of dish soap, and then I dab some of that off the colour parts. And that's it, job's done. That's the project complete. Here are some photos of the final pieces. So I'm going to give these a coat of varnish, and then I'll come back probably in the next video and I'll do mold making and then casting in resin. But the silicone rubber I've got at the moment has gone a bit funny, so I'm not sure if it's going to be okay. If not, I'll have to order some more. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.